Live from Radio Row at Super Bowl 57 in Phoenix. This is Roy Kessel and Caleb Bradham for Sports Philanthropy Network. And today we're very excited to have with us Leigh Steinberg. Leigh is the founder of Steinberg Sports and Entertainment and is one of the first sports agents that pioneered that industry, as well as being one of the first that jumped in with taking on the concussion crisis and getting his athletes involved with philanthropy. So, Leigh, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be with you.
We're excited that you're here. We want to talk a little bit about how you got involved with sports agency in the first place. What was your impetus for wanting to become a sports agent?
Well, Roy, there really wasn't an organized field of sports agentry when I started. I went to Cal Berkeley in the tumultuous 60s. I was student body president at the same time that the governor of California was Ronald Reagan. And every time we demonstrated, he cracked down, and I learned everything I ever needed to know about negotiating by interacting with Governor Reagan in crisis. And I went to law school and was a dorm counselor in an undergrad dorm. They moved the freshman football team into the dorm, and one of the students was the quarterback on the football team, Steve Bartkowski. He became the very first pick in the 1975 NFL draft, asked me to represent him. There I was, brimming with legal experience, never having practiced before, but he was the first pick overall, dealt with the Atlanta Falcons, and he got the largest rookie contract in NFL history. And I remember flying into Atlanta, and there were cleat lights flashing in the sky like for a movie premiere. We were going to sign the next day. There was a crowd pressed up against the police line, and they broke into the late news to bring a special news bulletin that we'd arrived. And I realized the tremendous power and influence that athletes had in communities across the country. And I thought, well, my dad had two core values. One was treasure relationships, especially family. And the second was try to make a meaningful difference in the world and help people who couldn't help themselves. So this could be a profession where if the athletes I worked with went back and retraced their roots and went back to the high school community where they set up scholarship funds or worked with the church or Boys and Girls Club, and then went to the collegiate community and set up a minority scholarship or did something to keep them bonded. And then as a pro level, a charitable foundation that had the leading business figures, political figures, and community leaders to help execute a program, they could make a profound difference off the field. And so um, today it's Patrick Mahomes and 15 in the Mahomies, which helps at-risk, underprivileged kids and kids with medical problems. Warwick Dunn, a former running back, just put the 200 single mother and her family into the first home they'll ever own by making a down payment and moving the families in and outfitting it. And it's athletes changing lives.
Well, we talk about changing lives all the time. I think one of the things, we focus on building stronger, healthier, and more inclusive communities. And the athletes that you represent, it's been a broad array of causes that they've chosen to support. Talk a little bit about how you engage with them at the outset of their career to identify with them what causes they're choosing.
So I think, Roy, in a lot of ways, most important skill in life is listening. It's drawing out another human being. It's asking them what their value system is. It's trying to get deeper and deeper into the core of what they really believe so that I can understand their deepest anxieties and fears and their greatest hopes and dreams. And if I can see the world the way they can see it and trigger something that they're passionate about, then all of a sudden it's going to be a program we do that's got real energy and real long-term saliency. So it just depends on their given interest and their given nature, and we probe that, and so it takes many different forms. The very first program we ever did was called Kicks for Critters, and it had to do with endangered species at the San Diego Zoo. And for every field goal Rolf Nerska kicked, he gave money to the Fund for Endangered Species at the San Diego Zoo. And we had posters and pledge cards throughout the community. So you walk into a 7-Eleven poster pledge card, walk into a bank poster pledge card, Jack in the Box poster pledge card.
Love it.
Little kids collected cans for critters. And we had Rolfometer running in the newspaper, and that program set the standard for every later program that combined athletic uh, prowess and achievement on the field with garnering corporate and other support off it.
So, Leigh, I have a question for you. I love the work that you do to help athletes with their charities. Like you said, Patrick Mahomes, Work Done, etc. What about Leigh Steinberg? What are your favorite charities to support personally?
So I've been concerned with the groups, and I funded a program years ago that I'm about to refund again that trained young volunteers across the country in how to push back against skinheads and hate groups. Use the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith. We um, taught them, young doctors, lawyers, housewives, teachers, how to help police departments do intelligence work, how to intervene in crisis situations, and how to go into school systems to promote ethnic diversity. And so we trained 7,000 of them. Well, the need is there right now. This is our time. This is our watch. We can't just sit passively by. I used to have a father who told me that when you look for someone to make a change, you look for someone to um, go ahead and address an issue, that the tendency is to wait for the amorphous they or them to do it. Older people, political figures, someone else will do it. And he would say, you could wait forever. And he'd look at me and say, the they is you, son. You are the they. So whether it's racism or the environment, where I've organized a Sporting Green Alliance with sustainable technology in wind, solar, recycling, resurfacing, and water to take the stadia, arena, and practice fields to drop carbon emissions and energy costs and transform them into educational platforms. I also have a program I developed to stop bullying in high schools because you traumatize those kids. So if we use professional athletes to tell the high school athletes to be tolerant, put their arm around someone with a hair lip or a weight problem or ethnicity that they're picked on for. We can change the culture of that high school real quick.
I love that. And, right along those lines, you and I were speaking just a few moments ago. I've had 8 concussions. I know what it's like to suffer the ramifications of those. You're doing a lot of work also in the concussion space. Will you tell us a little bit about the Brain Health Summit that you have coming up?
So I had a crisis of conscience back in the late 80s, early 90s, because I was representing half the starting quarterbacks in football, and they kept getting hit in the head. And we'd go to doctors and ask how many is too many, what's the magic number. They had no answers. So we started holding concussion conferences with neurologists. I have been trying to find cure because the problem only gets worse. Bigger, stronger athletes, more G force at the line of scrimmage, the physics of the hit have elevated. And so it's been a situation where you also have subconcussive events, which aggregated together can add up to more than just a few knockout blows. So there's a couple new processes. One is called RTMS, which is magnets against the brain, which stimulate the brain that can help bring back a concussed brain. Another one is Dr. Tommy Shavers and Nestry, and that can have an effect on re-establishing through the theory of neuroplasticity, which is that the brain can be re-energized and new neurons can grow. So Nicole Roberts runs the Brain Health Summit for us, and she does a superb job. We're going to have a series of panelists. Dr. Jason Kiefer, who lives in Honolulu, Dr. Tommy Shavers, who is in Lake Nona near Orlando. Nick Lowry's going to be there, uh, and they all do a terrific job.
Leigh, it's the Brain Health Summit has really been a fantastic addition to the party that you've held each year. I know that, as the party has grown, this has really helped synthesize people's awareness of this concussion issue. This has been around a long time, but people still are only as they need to. Um, when you look at the NFL from the outside, right, as you do every week, what things do you see that still need to happen within the league to really take care of the players? I know Tua's had a challenging year. There's been a lot of high profile hits and problems and being put back into competition probably quicker than was healthy for him.
So I think that on the concussion front, to start with, eventually we're going to play the game of football with the only hitting being during the games themselves, that they won't have contact during training camp or during practice. That will knock down concussions 40%. I've been exploring how to heal players more quickly, and there's hyperbaric oxygen and light stem and a whole series of healing modalities, stem cells, which can be of great use here. We continue to push rules changes that will make the game safer. And so I think it's all important. I'm concerned with players not simply over the course of their career, but the problem is that players tend to be in denial about their long-term health and protect themselves, and they'll fight against it because since Pop Warner Little League, they've been in denial.
Well, I know that it's a big issue, continues to be, and players are getting much more educated and sophisticated about the way that they look at these issues and protect themselves during the term of their career and in the injury recovery, and not trying to just rush back on the field. So I want to commend you for taking the lead on the concussion issue. As Sports Philanthropy Network, we want to commend you for being one of the pioneers and pushing and encouraging players to be involved in the community. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule today to be with us. On behalf of Caleb Bradham, I'm Roy Kessel with Sports Philanthropy Network. We're thanking Leigh Steinberg for joining us today. All of our viewers and listeners, we appreciate taking the time to join us live from Radio Row at Super Bowl 57. And Leigh, we'll see you soon. Please
Thank you, and
remember to live generously.